The 2016 Tshwane riots, a cautionary tale for the governing party. The protest was sparked by dissatisfaction with the appointment of Togo Didiza as the ANC's mayoral candidate in the capital city. Residents then accused the governing party of imposing leaders on them. The party's Deputy Secretary General says the community's choice is indispensable in the councillor selection process.
We allow our branches to select 4 candidates for a ward, 2 men and 2 women. And then 6 candidates are discussed for the PR list in every branch. Now, we have asked our branches to do the BGMs until the 15th of June as a deadline. What then will happen is, immediately after they have done their BGMs, convene a community meeting.
However, the party says its gender parity policy means it may have to balance the tendency to vote for male candidates. It's a job that the recently established ANC Electoral Committee headed by party elder Kgalema Motlanthe will be engaged in. For the Democratic Alliance, candidates need to undertake a vigorous selection program.
We call on people through a candidate selection program for them to put their names down, where they will go through a screening process, they will go through an electoral college, and then they will go through a selection panel. Out of the criteria that is needed, there's 8 different criteria that is needed for a councillor to be considered, and each candidate has to meet 6 out of the 8. It is then looked at by the federal executive.
The Freedom Front Plus describes its process as one of selection and placement, with over 60% of the choice of candidates left to the voting process.
The Freedom Front Plus has a nomination and placement policy. Firstly, persons are nominated by members of the party residing in the specific municipalities and wards as aspirant candidates. Then there's a vetting process, vetting the qualifications and also the criminal records of these aspirant candidates. Then there's an evaluation process where these aspirant candidates then obtain points in terms of a test, in terms of an interview, and so forth.
One of South Africa's smaller parties represented in Parliament, Al Jamaa, headhunts aspirant candidates and also encourages them to apply.
Those names on the list would then be provided to the IEC. The IEC would then publish the list of candidates of Al Jamaa in the Government Gazette, which allows for the public to continue with comment on the relevant candidates selected. The information with regard to those candidates, complaints, comments, etc. is then returned to Al Jamaa, where it is then further scrutinized by the Honourable Hanif Hendricks.
Last month, One South Africa movement leader Musi Maimane unveiled a new election plan that will bring about citizen-led governments across the country. The new system makes use of Section 15A of the Electoral Act that allows for the registration of an organization or movement to take part in elections without being registered as a political party. The model will permit independent candidates to take part in the October polls.
The scheme of the electoral law is that only registered political parties and independent candidates may contest elections. Independents can stand for election in wards, but only registered political parties can contest the PR component of those elections.
Meanwhile, the EFF has concluded its process of launching branches and is now occupied with conducting its regional people's assemblies. The process will conclude at the end of June. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.